Welcome back, Pokemon Trainers. Professor Chaz here. The lab coat's on back order, and it is Monday, July 11th, which means it's time for another news update video thingy. First thing I will mention, as always, is got myself a nice booster pack of Pokemon TCG I'm going to open up towards the end of the video. We're at the current set of Fates Collide, so I'm going to see what I get out of this pack, and as always, the TCG online code card will go to a lucky viewer that participates in the question of the day, which I'll give you as I'm preparing to open up this pack. But first and foremost, let's talk about last week's question of the day. It was, how did you spend your holiday weekend? And I realized after I uploaded the video, I thought, you know, there's people from all over the world that can be watching this, so not necessarily everyone's going to have the same holiday weekend. Here in Canada, we had Canada Day weekend, and down in America, there was the 4th of July weekend. So I sort of amended it to just say, so what did you do this past weekend if you didn't have a holiday? But the winner of the code card from last week's question was a viewer by the name Benjamin Williamson. He won the Breakpoint code card that I opened up last time. And Benjamin says, my cousins visited, but only got to stay for about 5 days. Since they have college and work going on, they also had a little bit of homework, but I got them to play Pokemon a couple times. And through conversation, he said that they played some of the TCG and video game as well. And from what I recall, I think Benjamin said that he won everything, so that's kind of cool. If he didn't win, though, I'm sure he had fun regardless. So that was for last week. I don't know why I'm putting the news down. I gotta keep track of what I'm trying to say. But yes, so later on I'll be opening up the Fates Collide, and for your chance to get the code card, I'll give you that question of the day. Just respond to the question with your answer and put hashtag QOTD in your response. And on Sunday, which is July 17th, this coming Sunday, they'll go into the running for one of the code cards, or the code card, that I'm going to pull out of that pack. But moving on to the rest of the news, I'm just going to give you some general news about the channel itself. Now, if you watched on the weekend, I uploaded an episode of Pokémon Stadium. Frankly, that's going to be the last episode of Pokémon Stadium that I put up, because when I started playing the game, I remembered all the fun, nostalgic times that I had with it, but as I got further into the game, I started remembering all the, I'm just going to come right out and say, rampant cheating that the computer throws your way as a human player. Like, I've said it in the video, you'll see things where it's like, there's a 5% chance of something happening. The computer will quite often have that happen. You will rarely have it happen for yourself, and the computer can basically, you know, I don't have any proof of this, but just from sheer experience and the number of times it happens, I am very certain the computer alters the percentages to make things harder for the player, which really isn't fair, because like percentages have to be, in order to be fair, the same percentage chance has to happen on both sides, you know. So all that being said, the Pokemon that I was choosing to bring into Stadium were the ones that I collected through my Pokemon Blue playthrough originally, plus the one I was doing on the channel as a sort of recreation of it. And if I can't win with those Pokemon, then I'm just going to have to say that is as far as I personally can get in Pokemon Stadium. You know, I could go out and capture some stronger Pokemon and take them through Stadium to show off the rest of it, but that kind of defeats the purpose of why I wanted to do Stadium. So I have only made it a certain distance. Maybe someday, if I can somehow get to the end, I'll show you some of the extra features, but as I said, feel free to go and do a YouTube search. There's plenty of other Pokemon Stadium players out there that use the Pokemon that you need to use to play and defeat the game, and you know, beat the trainers and get to the end. So there's other options out there. All that means is, unfortunately, there's really not much that I can show for weekend videos. What I do want to do eventually, though, as somebody asked me in one of the comments over the weekend, is when Pokemon GO does release in Canada officially, I want to start recording some weekend stuff for that. Maybe go out one day a week and see what I can capture, see if I can evolve some things, take on some gyms, and feature that as some content on the channel. Unfortunately, Pokemon GO currently is not officially released in Canada just yet. Now, I do know some people that have it, and there are some ways that you can get an advanced copy of it, but from what I've been reading, there's a possibility of some like malicious software being loaded into your phone as you do that, and all things being considered, I'd rather wait for the official release anyway, because I've heard that Niantic, I think that's how you pronounce it, the company that helped produce, or did produce Pokemon GO, they want to hold off until their servers can handle a lot more users, because there's been a lot of issues with server load times and such, and servers going down. So I'm just going to wait for the official release, but when that does happen, I do want to start recording some Pokemon GO content for the channel. As I said, that could fill up the weekend stuff. Plus, as I'm going to mention later on, there is a special online competition coming that should give us some content for not this weekend coming, but the next weekend. So look forward to an online competition for, as I say, next weekend. So in other news, that is just basically the general update on the channel. So in Pokemon Shuffle news, for those of you that play that out there, I didn't log in last week because I had too much news for the the rest of the recap. But I did log in, and I don't know how long this has been going on for, but it's going on until July 26th. They are distributing special items that you can use in your Pokemon Shuffle game. You're going to get 2 Raise Max level items that you can use on specific Pokemon and increase their maximum level by 1. There's also a Skill Swap item, also used for only specific Pokemon. So if you log into Shuffle, you can see the news update and let you know which Pokemon can use which of these items. And the Skill Swap item says you can change the ability of the Pokemon, or the skill exactly, and switch it to something else. I don't know if you get to choose what you switch it to, or if it's like a certain Pokemon has 2 different options, kind of like in the video game. So I'm not sure exactly how it works, but you do get the Skill Swapper item to use on specific Pokemon, much like those Raise Max levels. Now, in the special stages, there's a number of special stages available up until July 19th, which I believe is next Tuesday. And these Pokemon are Giratina in an Escalation Battle. Escalation Battle is where you go in, you battle Giratina. Every time you defeat Giratina, the level of the stage increases by 1. The higher the level, the higher the percentage chance you can capture Giratina. And there are special items along the way for hitting things like level 40, you'll get a certain item. Level 70, you get something else. And the full breakdown is in Pokemon Shuffle if you check that out. Also currently available is Celebi as a standard encounter. And if you capture Celebi and battle it again, it has a chance to drop a Celebi Skill Booster item, which you can use to increase the chance of its skill activating. And also available up until July 19th, the 3 Reggie brothers from Hoenn, Regirock, Regice, Registeel, are all available as standard encounters as well. Now, moving into the world of video games, I did mention last week that the Shaymin distribution has begun for the Pokemon 20 celebration for the month of July. And this time I have gone ahead and gotten my copy of Shaymin. Let's take a look at my particular Shaymin right now. You'll see it comes in with the natural curability, and let me see if I can get some information here. So, interestingly enough, it comes in holding a Mickleberry, or Michaelberry, not sure how you pronounce it, but it's an interesting berry that I'd never heard of before. It says this, it increases the Pokemon's accuracy when it's in a pinch. So, just like, say, the Salac Berry or Ganlan Berry, when your Pokemon gets low HP, it's going to eat that berry and increase its accuracy stat, which is pretty good. And the attacks are Seed Flare, Aromatherapy, Substitute, and Energy Ball. Anyway, that is my Shaymin, and if you haven't gotten yours yet, all you gotta do is log into your XY, XY, Omega Ruby, or Alpha Sapphire game, go to Mystery Gift on the main menu, choose Get Via Internet, and you can download your own copy of Shaymin for your own games. And I believe, I forget the name of or the number of the route, but if you go on to Pokemon20.com or Pokemon.com/20, I forget which, but go there and look at the information about Shaymin. It'll tell you a route that you can take Shaymin to in Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, and the family you speak to will give you the Gracidia flower, which you can then use to transform your Shaymin from its land form into the sky form. I believe it becomes grass flying at that point. So that is from the world of video games. And also in the world of the video game news, I did mention a little bit earlier, but I'm going to reiterate that the Sinnoh Classic, the new online competition, is coming not this weekend, but next weekend. But registration is starting this, I'm thinking it's the 14th on Thursday, if I'm doing the math right. So if you want to get into the Sinnoh Classic, and if you want the information, check out my last video, pardon me, and I'll also put a link in the description that you can go to the Pokemon Global link, get all the information about the competition. You have a chance to win, not a chance, you will win, not win, you will earn Cynthia's Garchomp that she used back in Diamond and Pearl, level 66 I believe it was, and you can get the information about what moveset and the ability and stuff it has there. So, for a chance to earn a special Pokemon like that, why not enter? All you gotta do is, I think, go for 3 battles for the entire weekend, and you can get yourself a copy of Cynthia's Garchomp. So the only thing left to do right now, I do want to talk about something I mentioned last week, and that is the TCG standard format is rotating as of the 2017 Play Pokemon season, and they have a nice little bit of information letting you know what some of the key cards that are going to be rotated out of the standard format are. So I want to show that up, but before we do that, I'm going to give you the question of the day, because afterwards I'm going to open up this pack. So, question of the day, to get your chance, or for your chance to get the code card from the Fates Collide pack, this week is going to be, what is your favorite and or least favorite Pokemon attack? So, of all the different attacks out there, I'm talking video game and TCG, even some of the spin-off games, perhaps like the Mystery Dungeons and all that, if there's other attacks in that I'm not aware of, what is your favorite and or least favorite attack? Pick your favorite, pick your least favorite, pick both. Just leave your comment down below and use hashtag QOTD, and you'll have a chance to win the Fates Collide code card that'll be opening up at the end of the video, and it's going to be going off to the side until Sunday, July 17th, this coming Sunday. As for me, I'm going to always have to say my favorite attack is Metronome, because I love randomness. In fact, I might want to do next week, what is your favorite ability, because I might actually say Moody is my favorite ability. But Metronome is one of those fun ones where there are very few attacks that you can't get with it, and it's a random selection of all the other Pokemon attacks out there. You never know what's going to happen. anything could be just, something could be thrown out there without expecting it. A lot of times you're going to find, I want to hit this thing with something, and you use an attack or a metronome, you get something like string shot or defense curl and stuff. So it has a drawback, of course. A lot of people wouldn't think of it as a competitive sort of thing because it is not competitive. It is completely random. But I love it for the sheer thrill of you don't know what's going to happen. As for my least favorite attack, it's kind of like a combination of a bunch of them. When I was first playing the original Game Boy games back on Game Boy, so red and blue, whatever, I didn't like attacks that would do recoil, such as double edge and takedown. And I would say my least favorite of all those kind of moves are things like self-destruct and explosion. Now, you'll see another reason why I don't like them in tomorrow's Pokemon Silver, spoilers, but I don't really like my own Pokemon taking damage if I can help it. So moves like self-destruct and explosion, although they are powerful, they can knock out a lot of good stuff, I don't like the recoil of knocking my own Pokemon out. So metronome is my favorite. Self-destruction moves like that are my least favorite. Let me know what your favorite and or least favorites are in the comments down below as we're preparing to open up the Fates Collide pack as soon as we check out the standard rotation information, and let's check that out right now. So as you can see here, it says prepare for the 2017 standard format rotation. I'm not going to read every single thing that's here, but I'm going to give you the highlights. As it says, it's going to be just starting with the Primal Clash expansion and going up from there. So everything from Phantom Forces and before that will not be usable, except if it is a card that you have from an earlier set that is reprinted in a standard legal set, at which point you can still use the older one as long as it functions the same as the current card says. So it's here, changing of the guard, nice little heading, letting you know that things such as Night March will no longer be standard, so Joltik and Pumpkaboo are going to be going the way of the dinosaur, and it's letting you know also that I think it was Phantom Forces that there was a Bronzong with Metal Link's ability that lets you attach a metal energy from the discard pile to a bench Pokemon. That will no longer be standard either. See, the thing is with like certain Pokemon cards, trainer cards will be reprinted pretty much the same as they are, but there's very rare instances where a Pokemon is printed with the exact same attacks and exact same, HP and type weaknesses and stuff like that. So generally, what the rotation does is take out certain Pokemon and Pokemon attacks that will no longer be standard. So that is getting rid of the Metal Link's ability, getting rid of the Night March attack, and letting you know that Aromatisse with Fairy Transfer, Mega Manectric EX, and Manectric EX are also going to be leaving the standard format as well. Now there was a couple ways that you could shut down item cards, as it mentions here. Trevenant with the, Forest Curse ability. It says, while it is active, your opponent can't play item cards. Also, Seismitoad with Quaking Punch would prevent the opponent from playing item cards on their next turn. Both of these Pokemon will no longer be standard, so they are rotating out of the standard format. And there's a number of really interesting trainer cards that are also going to be rotated out. Battle Compressor is one of them, and technically Versus Seeker came from this expansion as well. But I believe it is maybe not Primal Clash, but one of the later sets where there is a secret rare gold-rimmed Versus Seeker. Technically that still counts as standard legal, so therefore your older Versus Seeker cards are still usable in standard format. But with Battle Compressor gone, there's no real way to power up Night March. Of course, Night March is gone as well, but certain things like compressing out special energy that Carbon Break can then start reattaching to things, and as it mentions here, Vespiquen doing Bee Revenge for more discarded Pokemon, that is going to also be hindered in a way because you can't freely discard cards from your deck using the Battle Compressor. Downside is we're also losing the Blacksmith card, as it mentions, attaching 2 fire energy from the discard pile to a fire Pokemon. This came in really handy using the Scorched Earth. Discard a fire energy to draw 2 cards. You can do that twice, and then you go for the Blacksmith and attach those 2 fire energy onto one of your Pokemon. So that is gone. Dimension Valley is also being rotated out, so your Psychic Pokemon have to use their regular energy cards to be able to use the attacks. They're not going to get that 1 colorless less requirement of the Dimension Valley. And certain item cards like tools here, as you can see, Muscle Band and Focus Energy, they're also being rotated out of standard because there are not currently standard legal expansions that include these cards. So we're losing those. We're also losing things like Startling Megaphone and Xerosic, which are also pretty handy, but they are gone. And it says here, Garbodor with the Garbotoxin ability is going to be a lot harder to deal with, because Garbodor says, well, it has a tool card attached to it. The only ability that is active is Garbotoxin. Now, without the Startling Megaphone or Xerosic, you can't as easily get rid of the tool card off of the opposing Pokemon. So it's going to be really interesting to see how much more use Garbodor gets using the Garbotoxin ability. Now it says, looking ahead, what does it say here? So we're looking at what is remaining. So I'm going to mention a few things from my own decks that I use. I like to use the Creepy Shuriken, as I call it, using Base Set Greninja to do 30 damage with the Water Shuriken, and then Gengar from Breakthrough, I think it is, with Creepshow to knock out anything with 30 damage. Under the new standard rotation, that Greninja is no longer legal, so I can't use that ability. I have to think of other ways to put 30 damage on before I do my attack. So, what I like about the Heroes Beacon Pokemon League is we generally stick to the expanded format. Expanded is not changing at all. We're going to keep the same cards in the expanded format that we've been using, which includes from the black and white base set up until the new cards of today. So, that means everything I'm saying here will not really affect the Heroes Beacon League so much, but if you attend a Pokemon League that does stick to the standard rotation, this is very important stuff for you to know. Now, it's mentioning here, it looks like Mega Sceptile and Superior are still going to be around, and they are going to do good against the Greninja Break using the Water Shuriken, the Giant Water Shuriken. It says, Mega Rayquaza deck also survives the rotation without any major losses. It still has the Sky Field, you can still get some more bench Pokemon down, doing Emerald Break for a lot of damage, and it's adding in, as it says, new cards from Steam Siege in this new format. The addition of Steam Siege is sure to shake things up as well. Decks focusing on Zoroark will continue to be viable. And the new Captivating Pokepuff, which does say, your opponent reveals his or her hand, put any number of basic Pokemon you find there onto the opponent's bench. I mentioned Zoroark because it has, I think it's called Mind Jack or something like that, and it does 10 damage plus 30 more for each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So you can use this Pokepuff, force them to fill their bench up, and suddenly you're doing a lot more damage using the attack. And Flareon EX, it says, could gain some power from the Volcanion EX that's coming in. The Steam Up ability allows basic Fire-type Pokemon to do more damage. And as it says, the expanded format is remaining as it was, so nothing's going to change there. So if you're using expanded format, you don't have to worry about this at all. That is a basic breakdown. I did want to mention also another one of my decks that I like to use is the Marowak Break deck, which I've been using in the tournaments I've been participating in lately. And that deck focuses on using Milotic from Flashfire to self-KO itself, I guess, and put itself to the discard pile, powering up Marowak Break's attack of Bone Revenge, which does 40 more damage for each prize the opponent has taken. Under the new standard, if I play that, I can't use that Milotic anymore because it is not legal. So I'm hoping to sort of think of another way that I can sort of get my own knockouts and power up Marowak Break faster, because otherwise I'm at the mercy of the opponent knocking my stuff out, and they might be in a decent setup to take down my Marowak Break before I'm ready to take them out. Anyway, that is a basic breakdown of the current standard format rotation. I encourage you, if you have particular specific decks that you like to use, check out what expansion your cards are from and see are there any current standard legal expansions that those cards are included in. If not, you're going to have to rotate some out if you plan to play the standard format. So with that, we're going to get into the opening of the Fates Collide Booster Pack right now and see what I get. So now let's see what luck has in store for me with this Fates Collide Booster Pack as I make sure we're nice and focused there. And at the end, I will reiterate the question of the day once again for your chance to win the code card that I'm about to pull out right now, if I can get my thumb in there. And I'm going to have to tear the pack a little bit more. So here we go. The code card is the wrong way, so we're going to flip it around, set that to the side until Sunday, July 17th, and you have a chance to win that code card by answering the question of the day. So let's take a look at what I get from the most recent expansion of Pokemon TCG, starting with the common cards of a Fennekin. Next is a Carbink with Safeguard, very nice, defending against all Pokemon EX. I do like Deerling for Find a Friend. Search your deck for any Pokemon you want. It does use your attack for the turn, but Deerling, it does its job well. Bronzor is here as well, and Riolu. Next is the uncommon, starting with a Whimsicott. We have a Zygarde with Lookout and Aura Break. Next we have the Wormadam the Fighting type Wormadam, Sand Spray and Twin Bursts. The reverse foil card is going to be, well, not reverse foil, but it's an Almastar Break. Very nice. I wasn't expecting a Break evolution in this set, or this pack. We're going to set you back here next to Blastoise, because you're pretty awesome. And the rare card is going to be a Barbaracle with the Hand Block ability. If you have a Stadium card in play, your opponent can't attach any special energy cards from his or her hand to his or her Pokemon. Claw Slash does a basic 70 damage for 2 water and a colorless. So definitely a cool card to have gotten out of the Fates Collide pack, Almastar Break. I didn't even mention the ability, but Dangerous Tentacle says, once during your turn, you may switch one of your opponent's benched Pokemon EX with his or her active Pokemon. So if they're trying to power something up on the bench and keep it safe, Almastar Break can force it to the active spot, and you can just launch an attack and possibly knock it out before it's ready to knock you out. So that's definitely a nice card to have gotten. And once again, for your chance to win the code card that I pulled out of this pack, feel free to answer the question of the day. What is your favorite and or least favorite Pokemon attack? The drawing will be done on Sunday, July 17th, and everyone that answers that question with hashtag QOTD included somewhere in that comment will have a chance to be drawn for the winner, or to be the winner of this code card. with all that, we're going to end off today's news update video, folks. Come on back later on today for the first episode of Pokemon Silver for the week, episode 16, going up in a few hours' time. I want to say thank you for checking out the news update today, and I'll catch you next time.